Valley and all of Homeseekers Paradise for over 40 years. WBKN Brookhaven, B92.
Get ready for the next hour. It's your complete breakdown of what everyone is talking about with high school, college, and professional sports. Brought to you by Magnolia Blues, Buckbuster Seed & Company, Sullivan Ford Lincoln, and Clint's Pharmacy. We are live at Magnolia Blues with your show host, Ryan Case, Paden Phillips, and Trey Waterloo with Sports Buzz on B92.1 The Boss.
It's getting hot around here. I keep trying to just make my...
And welcome to Sports Buzz, everybody. We are coming to you live from Magnolia Blues tonight. And we, speaking of Magnolia Blues, let us thank all of our sponsors here at the top of the show. Clint's Pharmacy, Buckbuster Seed Company, Sullivan Ford Lincoln, and obviously Magnolia Blues, who is very generous to allow us to broadcast from this beautiful restaurant, great food, and I think that's actually a pretty good thing that we can kick off. What did y'all have for dinner tonight?
Man, I tell you what, I had the Magnolia Blues tacos with some barbecue sauce on top, and the best French fries in town with comeback dressing. And let me just tell you, it is all I can do not to order another plate.
That's where, yeah, we're limited to $15 here, but that was $15 well spent. What'd you get, Ryan?
Yeah, I agree. It's hard to outdo those tacos. They really are good. You can't. They don't have those at Taco Bell, so they're a whole different take. That pulled pork is great on there. So
that was
really
the first thing.
that.
That was the first thing I ordered when I moved to Brookhaven. When I came here was the
tacos.
Yeah, this was the first local restaurant that I ate at when I moved to Brookhaven. It was and I got the Magnolia tacos. But tonight I had the American burger, and it was the closest thing to a Five Guys burger.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I've not had the burger.
It's delicious. It was French fries with it, but it was good. So again, we want to thank obviously Magnolia Blues for being very, very generous on the food, the atmosphere, and everyone here that is it's allowing us to do this. So
if anybody's out there, if you're close by, just come on in. You can come in. We're doing the live show in here at Magnolia Blues. You can get any of those menu items that we just mentioned, or you can pick it up and to go if you don't want to stay with us. But absolutely, Magnolia Blues needs to be on your weekly stop.
Yes, it does. I mean, it's on our weekly stop, so why not make it on your weekly? We love
absolutely.
It here. Yes, so let's for people who are just joining us, this is week 2 of Sports Buzz, and for people who don't know, we are here as fans of local sports here in Brookhaven and fans of sports in general that just want to give you the best sports show that we can put together. And that's we've already had a lot of great feedback from last week. Wouldn't y'all say? I mean.
Yeah, Dr. Case loves feedback.
Yeah, so right. I mean, it was
as
all
long
good.
as it's positive. Yeah.
As long as it's positive. Yeah. So it was a lot of great feedback. We're glad that people are out there listening, but we want to continue to do that. So if you're again unfamiliar with what we're doing, we are bringing you all the big stories and all the big news that we have in all the levels of sports. We have high school, we have college, and we have pro. So let's kick it off right now. We'll just give you a quick overview before we go to our first commercial break here in just a minute. Let's kind of just do a quick overview of what we've got in store for high school here tonight. So
got some games. We got some live games from this weekend.
We do. First season kickoff was this past Friday for our local schools that we had here. Specifically, our Brookhaven Academy. You guys attended.
Yeah, I was there. It's sort of a, for a football fan, it's sort of a little bit frustrating. You go there wanting to get 4 quarters and feel like you get cheated, especially with us being up on Cathedral and seeming to handle them pretty well. So kind of hated, too, that game didn't go to completion. But it was a good 1.5 quarters of Cougar football nonetheless there.
Right, so. Yeah. And you also went, so I guess you're probably thinking the same thing. It's just that the same atmosphere that you didn't get.
Yeah, well, it was a great atmosphere. It was like most first games. The Cougars looked a little bit rusty starting off. Kind of settled down in, and Nick Ogden was fabulous on running the ball. Really sort of started to spark the Cougars' offense, which I think, Dr. Case, you can chime in on this, but for me, that was different than what I was expecting.
Yeah, I think
the running game was a little bit of a surprise.
Yeah, I think Coach Rushing was keeping his powder dry, so to speak, and not showing a lot of that in the previous games. But the offense did look a little bit different, and it, seemed to have Cathedral on their heels a little bit. They had, trouble stopping us on the run, and I think it's a big testament to the offensive line that played well, that seemed to give all the backs 2 or 3 steps, a little space that they could actually get up a little head of steam and make a cut. So, and the defensive line did well too. We gave up a couple of big plays, but we seemed to handle them pretty well from the defensive line and linebacker play. So it was a couple plays bounced our way. They had a errant punt that we recovered for a touchdown. We also had a pick six. So
it was a fantastic interception by Colin Waldrop.
Yes,
really. That he not only was it a catch that he brought in and he kind of cut the route off, intercepted that ball, and took a great line to the end zone. I mean, it looked like at one point the defender was going to be able to get him, but Colin had such a sharp angle towards that end zone that he was able to evade the tackler.
Yeah.
And you guys said that we also y'all were having to deal with that rain delay, and it ended up being called halfway through, relatively, something like that. So we will be getting to that as well. And in addition to that, also we're going to be talking about when we come back for the high school segment coming up right after this break here in just a few minutes. We also have the primetime 23 players that we mentioned last week from Brookhaven High School. I got a couple interviews from them and a couple of thoughts on their game against Pearl in Pearl, Mississippi.
Right.
That they were also dealing with a little bit of a rain delay, and unfortunately BHS did lose to Pearl. But I got from the word of mouth from the primetime players, from the Daily Leader, kind of their thoughts on what it was like and where we're going moving forward. And I also got to see the practice today, so it was really good.
Well, I was a little bit surprised on the score there. I know that one of the customers that I deal with in Pearl, his son's on the Pearl Pirate team, and they were extremely nervous heading into the game since they are the returning state 6A champions.
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so they're obviously the state champions, but they lost a lot of players, and they were worried about some of the depth that the Panthers were going to bring to Pearl. But it just didn't come out that way.
So that's what we're going to be talking a little bit more in depth about that when we come back for the high school segment after this. But Ryan, what you got for college for us tonight, just to give us a quick overview?
Yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about Colin's upcoming season, highlight a couple of their players there, and just briefly, they're set up to have a really good season. Last year they didn't finish with a great record, but they were relatively young team, and I think there's a little bit of ebb and flow in junior college football where one year you may be heavy on the freshmen and struggle a little bit. The next year people have gotten a year worth of experience, they're used to the system, and so that's kind of the situation that the Colin Wolves find themselves in. Is should have a lot of sophomores and a lot of the skilled positions, and should have a good season.
Yeah, and hopefully we'll be able to actually, with us getting to do this show, we'll actually get to go to a couple of those games if we have the opportunity to. So we'll definitely be looking forward to putting that to proof and seeing how well Colin is. We'll be able to get to go see those. So, and Trey, finally, what do we got for pro?
I've got some things that are making headlines in the NFL. We're still in our second week after the preseason. I've got a couple of sleeper picks for any of you fantasy football players out there, that some things that are happening on the preseason that it might be something you want to take a look at for some deeper picks for your fantasy draft. A little PGA news. Of course, we're going into the FedEx playoffs this week. An update on the MLB power rankings, and then an update on your NASCAR playoff outlook.
Sounds good. That's what we've got coming up for you on Sports Buzz here this hour. So this is Paden Phillips with Ryan Case and Trey Waterloo right here on Sports Buzz. Let's take ourselves a quick 2-minute break. We'll be right back with high school coming up right after this on B92. Come on back. We'll see you here in 2 minutes.
Hello, this is Lavelle Sullivan with Quick Lane Tire and Auto. It's back to school time, and that means getting your vehicle ready to travel for football. Right now, you can get up to $160 mail-in rebate and 90 days same as cash on new tires. These are never-seen-before savings, and there's never been a better time to buy, and we will meet or beat any competitor's advertised price on any of the 13 brands we're the authorized dealer for. Quick Lane Tire and Auto, next door to Sullivan Ford Lincoln, exit 40, Brookhaven.
There is no better place to get all your local and complete pharmacy needs than at Clint's Pharmacy in Brookhaven. Clint's is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 12. Come inside and visit the best greeting card selection in town, with all cards just 99 cents. But those days you are in a hurry, you can use Clint's convenient and fast drive-thru line. Now inside Clint's Pharmacy is Complete Family Medical, a clinic that takes walk-ins to get you in and out. Clint's Pharmacy, 201 Highway 51 North, Brookhaven.
Hunters, entice the big deer onto your food plots with Buckbuster seed mixes. You'll find the right mix perfect for seasonal or year-round forage production. It's specifically formulated for the Southeast, and they are the most complete and cost-effective seed mixes available. BuckbusterSeedCompany.com. Hunters, your food plots will be frequent stops for deer when you plant Buckbuster seed mixes. And the young deer will grow to be trophy bucks with proper nutrition from Buckbuster seeds. Find out what's in it and where you can get it at BuckbusterSeedCompany.com.
There's nothing like grilling a fresh cut of meat, especially when it comes from Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing on Highway 84 East. You get the choicest cuts of meats, a full selection of produce, casseroles, even desserts. Diamond J does complete deer processing too. When it's time for a cookout or you're planning that special meal, one stop takes care of all your needs. Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing, Highway 84 East Brookhaven. Call Will and Debbie Jordan at 833-8007.
And welcome back, everybody, to Sports Buzz. Again, coming to you live from Magnolia Blues right here on B92. We are very excited again for you to join us here, so we're going to dive right into our first topics of the evening. Kind of covered a little bit there in the intro, but high school and local sports that are going on right here in Brookhaven. Let's kind of jump right into it first with what happened this last Friday and really kind of across the board for all the Lincoln County games this past Friday. Big rain delay, big issue with the weather. You guys were on hand at Brookhaven Academy. So just tell us kind of what was the process that was going on there once the lightning started happening? I guess, Ryan, you know.
Well, I think there's some rule where if they see a strike of lightning, you have to wait 30 minutes. So the first strike was seen at about 8, and then we waited it out for a couple hours. But I think, and I'm not sure who exactly made the decision, but at 10 o'clock, they kind of decided that was all we were going to wait because that lightning storm wasn't really going anywhere. We had a big front that just kind of came right over Natchez and hung around. So, yeah, so it was, like I said, a little bit frustrating. I kind of sense that maybe the Cathedral coach didn't like the fact of that game being canceled with BA being up. So I think there was a little bit of push there to get the game going back on, which I think everybody wanted, but just wasn't a safe situation with all the lightning out there.
And that kind of brings up a good point. Is that I thought, speaking of a rule, I thought that if it meant a certain length of time during a game, it was called. But then you said so yourself that there's been some back and forth on it. Did Brookhaven officially win the game? Is that what they're calling as of right now?
I've heard different things. I've heard from somebody that you have to get into the third quarter for it to be considered a game. And then I've heard that that's not true. I do know that they won't be making the game up because for BA it's not a district game, and so they'll just kind of leave it as be. So there was, I think sometimes folks consider playing those on Saturday, but, I don't think that would have been a good idea, especially not being a district game and having the kids all stoved up, Saturday morning.
So you also, Trey, you also mentioned that as far as Nick Ogden going, you said that with how he did, he's one of our primetime 23 players to watch for Brookhaven Academy. So just what did you see from Nick Ogden that night?
Well, I mean, I think the Cougars sort of got an identity last year of having a real fast-paced passing game, right? And you're really kind of looking for Cade Brown, who is obviously a great athlete.
Also one of our
he and the Flowers weren't connecting for whatever reason, and Ogden really kind of stepped up into the role of the offense was on his back, is the way it looked the first quarter. I mean, when we got in the red zone, the few times that we scored, we had the pick six, and then we had a blocked field goal, which is another issue that, kind of where we got to work with, that they need to work on, as far as not the kicker, but as far as the execution of getting the ball snapped and placed so that an attempt can be made.
Yeah, so speaking of kicker, anything you want to add to that, Rod?
Oh, no.
What he was doing?
He had a good game. He had a touchback, so yeah. So he was pumped. It's always,
he had a he's kicking the ball off is amazing.
Good deal.
Yeah. So there's always a learning curve with everybody on that. But as far as Nick goes, to me he's that kid that you don't want to. If I was playing high school football, I would not want to have to try to tackle him when he gets up ahead of steam.
That's right.
It's, a couple 100 pounds moving at you fast, solid muscle. So
he's a fearless runner.
Yeah, and
really
he's got that advantage, I think, once he gets past that defensive line, past the linebackers. I don't think there's many people wanting to take that hit.
And what I love about, especially about Brookhaven Academy, just because it is still, I think, a relatively small school. You're definitely going to have kids that are playing on both sides. Nick Ogden, being one of our players to watch this season, is actually more on the both side of defense to be watching. So how did he do as far as the defensive side? Was he on defense, any of that linebacker position?
Yeah, he plays middle linebacker, I believe, and has played some outside linebacker too. But the defense worked
pretty solid.
Yeah, the defense was definitely more solid against Cathedral. They really had a sense that they handled the line of scrimmage pretty well. Cathedral had a couple of big plays, kind of, missed tackle, and they went the distance a time or two. But other than that, we really controlled the line of scrimmage, and they had to punt, 2 or 3 times just in the first quarter and a half.
And the momentum switched big time with Colin Waldrop's interception.
Okay.
He could have got away from BA, really, at that point. We had, I think it was right after the missed field goal, we were trailing. I can't remember the exact score. It might have been 7-0. And then when Waldrop made that interception and got that into the end zone, it sort of got everybody. You could just feel the energy of the team lift immediately.
Good deal, yeah. And actually, I'm going to swing back to something similar to that as we change topics here. Going from Brookhaven Academy to our other Brookhaven school here, I actually got to sit down and speak to the other primetime players for Brookhaven High School. We've got Coker Wright, John Hilbert, and Savante Quinn, all players to watch. And I actually got to go out and view the last 30 minutes or so of their practice today. And I'll tell you one thing that I absolutely love about just getting to watch a practice is that you can tell how much a team wants to win by their approach to practice. And out there today, they were running Lawrence. They're playing Lawrence County this Friday. Lawrence County runs a up back wing offense, and you can also tell that it was kind of a trying like retribution type thing and getting back up, because they did fall to Pearl last Friday. That they were coming out to practice and they were going to the ball every single time the ball was hiked. Every single time the ball was snapped to the scout team quarterback. The entire defense was flowing towards where the quarterback was. The entire defense was flowing to where the running back was. And I love seeing that on a high school team, because you see the determination to win. Mm-hmm. But on that, when I was talking to Coker, John, and Savante, we were just basically talking about I didn't get to go to the Pearl game like I said I would last week. I got called off because of the weather, so I didn't actually get to go. But I wanted to talk about how it went. And all of them had the same thing to say about the first night about this first game is that preseason first game jitters just completely overtook them. It was very sluggish, and you see that a lot in the first games. I mean, wouldn't you say?
Oh yeah, and to me that's a big stage to go up there. And open up with Pearl High School. Yeah, and
6A. That was some. I've talked to a couple people saying that going Pearl and BHS, I wouldn't call it a rivalry, but they've always kind of had this back and forth throughout their not back and forth, but kind of one-sided, I guess, from what I've understood from on Pearl's side. But BHS was really determined to go win. And we were talking before the show, Trey. Didn't you say that you had somebody who was kind of speculating that they did?
I just shared with you. I talked with someone last week that sons on the Pearl Pirate team, and that they were really not overlooking Brookhaven at all, and completely nervous. Didn't really know what they had. They got a young team. They lost a lot of people, and I think they were thinking it would be much more close, kind of in step with what it was last season.
Yeah.
And wasn't it Coker Wright's first game on the defense?
He's been on defense, I think, the last couple of years, because he's for instance, no, you're right. He switched from offensive line to defensive line this year, and if I can remember right, he was actually playing defensive end out there tonight during the practice. And he was actually one person that I saw during practice that was making the most effort to get the quarterback. Really going full speed. Going full blast to get to that quarterback. Because he told me himself he missed 7 tackles.
7?
6 or 7 if I'm getting my numbers right. 6 or 7 tackles Friday night. They really just kind of wanted him to pick himself up and go into this game against Lawrence County this week. And John Hilbert actually was responsible for one of the better catches of the night that helped shift the momentum back to Brookhaven High at that point. And then Savante Quinn was also just trying to shake off.
Look, they'll get it figured out.
Yeah, I think you're right too. It does you need to get past that first threshold of the first week, and especially if they're going up against a team like Pearl, who they've had history with in the past. So
to me, that's one of the more fun parts about watching high school football is seeing how the teams from week to week kind of fix the problems, how they get better, how different folks step up. And so it's kind of interesting how the team the last few games may not resemble the performance much of the team the first couple of games. And so it's it's a big learning process for the players and the coaches, I think, as they go through the season.
Well, what we've got coming up for high school this week that I'll actually be getting to go witness myself is Tuesday we've got softball for Brookhaven High School, and also Thursday we have Wesson versus Bogachetta softball, and then Friday I'll be at the Wesson versus Summerall game. So we're getting away from Brookhaven for this next week for the show. So we'll be talking about some of our neighboring and county schools. So the game of the week this week is going to be Wesson versus Summerall that we see this Friday. You guys got anything else you want to add to Brookhaven or Brookhaven High School before we go to break?
No. Well, the upcoming game for Brookhaven Academy is
North Delta. It's a pretty good long haul away game. Yeah,
another away game. Bring your lunchbox is what they say.
Right. Who does BHS play?
BHS is here against Lawrence County. So we will. I've got one home game here for the public school, and Brookhaven Academy is heading on the road in North Delta. So we'll get you the full list of who all is playing this week as far as high school sports go at the end of the show. But right now, we're going to take another quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back with college coming up right after this on B92. You're listening to Sports Buzz. We'll be right back.
There's nothing like grilling a fresh cut of meat, especially when it comes from Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing on Highway 84 East. You get the choicest cuts of meats, a full selection of produce, casseroles, even desserts. Diamond J does complete deer processing too. When it's time for a cookout or you're planning that special meal, one stop takes care of all your needs. Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing, Highway 84 East Brookhaven. Call Will and Debbie Jordan at 833-8007.
Hello, this is Lavelle Sullivan with Sullivan Ford Lincoln. August is here, and that brings back to school, football season, and Ford summer sales event. With 0% for 72 months, plus cash back and no payment for 90 days, there's never been a better time to buy. Bring your trade and trade up to a new Ford while the selection's best. These deals won't last long. Don't miss out. Come see us today or visit online at SullivanFordLincoln.com. Sullivan Ford Lincoln, we're better, we're proving it, and we want you to be the judge. Exit 40, Brookhaven.
There is no better place to get all your local and complete pharmacy needs than at Clint's Pharmacy in Brookhaven. Clint's is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 12. Come inside and visit the best greeting card selection in town, with all cards just 99 cents. But those days you are in a hurry, you can use Clint's convenient and fast drive-thru line. Now inside Clint's Pharmacy is Complete Family Medical, a clinic that takes walk-ins to get you in and out. Clint's Pharmacy, 201 Highway 51 North, Brookhaven.
Deer hunters, looking for the best fall seed mix on the market? Buckbusters has 36% protein, contains 8 varieties of winter forage in the basic mix, and 11 varieties in the premium mix. One bag does 1 acre. It's specifically formulated for the Southeast. Contact your local seed dealer or Buckbusters at buckbusterseedcompany.com or call toll-free 1-800-562-4570. Buckbusters, the most complete and cost-effective seed mixes available.
Welcome back to Sports Buzz on B92.1 FM, live from Magnolia Blues here in our second show. And I'm going to get us kicked off talking about a little local college football here with the Colin Wolves. So Have you guys seen any Colin games? I've been to a few since a few years I've been here on Thursdays.
I have been to count them one game the entire time that I've lived here in Brookhaven Academy. I can't remember who they played, but it was from what I remember Colin winning. That was about it.
Yeah. I have not been to a game. I watched the game on Last Chance U.
I got you. Yeah. Well, last year they finished 4-5, which I think was a little bit down. A little bit disappointing. I don't think it really, from the folks I've talked to and from reading what the coaches said about the team, that that he felt that they were really more like a 7-2 team last year. They just kind of had a couple of plays that didn't go their way, so missed the playoffs last year. And that was with a team that was largely freshmen in the skill position. So this year they got a couple of guys coming back at quarterback. Hayden Davis is an MRA grad. He'll be a sophomore. He had a good season last year. And then another MAIS grad, Connor Meyer from Natchez Cathedral. He went and played his freshman year somewhere, but is back at Colin. So they kind of got it. I think from what I'm reading that Hayden Davis is kind of the number one guy going into the season, but they, really have two good quarterbacks there. Got a pretty good running attack, kind of one of those two-headed monster things like the Saints with Ingram and Kamara. So they've got Deion Dampier, which played at Panola. He's a sophomore, and Rico Owens from Greenwood, who's also a sophomore. So those guys combined for about 1,500 rushing yards last year. So,
wow, good deal.
Yeah. I didn't realize to go on one of these games, but the quality of players you'll see there. I mean, they have players on their team that are actively being recruited by Alabama and LSU, and so it really is quality football for sure, and it's at a level that I wasn't expecting to see going to a community college game. And I think Mississippi really, I'm not sure what it is why we have such a strong community college football scene, but I hear that it's not like that in other states always. So.
I mean, that show, I mentioned Last Chance U, but I think that show has not only educated people about the junior college football programs, but just you're talking about 5-star kids that were at bigger programs matriculating for a second chance, kind of revive their career for whatever reason, whether it's academic or poor choices that land them in these spots. But you're exactly right about the quality of players that are in these programs. I mean, and you very well likely see some of these kids playing on Sunday.
Yeah, and their coach, who interestingly has been there for 15 years, Coach Glenn Davis, and that's the longest running streak for tenure. At Colin, and I think actually in the junior college system. So he's very experienced. He's got a long pedigree of pro and Division I college players. They have a tight end, T.K. McClendon, who I believe is an LSU commit, so they're going to be utilizing him more. Yeah. And so, and another player on defense, Jordan Davis, is committed to Alabama. He's a 6'5", 240 defensive end. So it'll be interesting to see. They start the season out on the road on August 30th versus Holmes. Their first two games are away games. They'll play Holmes and Northeast. So their first home game would be that following week against Pearl River. But, they're looking to be in contention this year and make it to the playoffs again.
Yeah.
So.
What I found interesting about that one game that I got to go to from Colin kind of just speaks to what we were just talking about is that even that level, I mean, it being a junior college, it has almost a Sunday afternoon vibe.
Yeah.
I mean,
the speed of the game is a lot faster than I thought.
Yes. It was. I remember, and coming from Arkansas again, kind of on what you were just saying, Ryan, is that in my experience and knowing like neighboring colleges, there were community colleges that I grew up at I didn't even know could supply a football team. So when I moved to Brookhaven and knew some people that were actually, I think, in the band at Colin. That's how I got to go, and I got to come out there, and I was like, oh, this is just going to be some slow junior college thing, just that stigma that you get from a community college type thing. But as soon as I got out there, it was nuts. It was like watching a Razorback game to me almost, or a Mississippi State game. It was very live. So I think I'm glad that we're seeing this level of success after these guys leave, going up to like Mississippi State and LSU. So I'm glad that Mississippi is getting that.
Yeah.
Yeah, south, kind of to the south of us there. I'll get a little more info for next week about Southwest, but they do have a new coach. Tim Stowers is going to be their new head coach, and they had a little bit of turnover there where Coach Peavy left Southwest to return to BHS.
Okay.
Interestingly, right after that, gentleman Cam Accord was named their interim head coach, and then not long after he was named that, he was offered a position to be the special teams assistant at the New England Patriots. And so that's where, he's the first assistant on special teams there for the Patriots. And he graduated from Brookhaven Academy in 2005. So he's got some connection to, I think it's Coach Judge, who is the special teams coordinator for the Patriots, some connection through Mississippi State. So so that's
pretty interesting information right there.
Yeah.
Love it. So you also you've got that new rule that you want to talk about.
Oh yeah, just a couple rules there that I guess there's a big push now with the focus on concussions, player injury, and that sort of thing. Is that in college football now you can fair catch the kickoff inside the 25 anywhere, and the ball comes out to the 25. So you don't have to have it roll into the end zone or whatnot. So we'll see how that be interesting to see what kind of strategy people have on special teams there. Yeah. Some folks think that they may go to squib kicks because I'm assuming that a fair catch ball has to be in the air. So I don't know if you squib it and the guy fields it at the 5 if he still has to return it. So it'd be kind of interesting to see if that changes the game. But I sort of hope it's not a slippery slope to eliminating that play altogether from football, which I think some folks think it should be. But
no, I mean that's an important part of the game, and that's how.
So that's what I was saying earlier. Is when we pre-show we were talking about is that that creates just a different environment in the game. I mean, it's so different from offensive defense.
I can't imagine not having a kickoff.
Yeah, because that's what you get. Like at kickoff, that's what it does. It kicks off the game.
Well, it's an electric if you return it.
Exactly. That's what you were saying. Is that it's a completely game changer.
It's kind of that wild card that even if you're behind a little bit, the guy can score a touchdown in 20 seconds and get back in it. So
the length that that's an 80-yard run if you can get through.
Well, don't you burn 40 seconds off the clock?
Exactly. Yeah. Anything else we got for you?
There's a new rule. They can't leap over the lineman to block a field goal, but I honestly thought that was already a rule. But
I did too,
I think LeVar Arrington made that play famous back in the 90s.
So in addition to, he's got some stuff for the rules that we have there that's coming up in college for SEC and things like that. So let's take take us to break, Ryan.
Yeah, we'll be right back and talk about pro and some other sporting events.
We'll be right back after this.
Hunters, entice the big deer onto your food plots with Buckbuster seed mixes. You'll find the right mix perfect for seasonal or year-round forage production. It's specifically formulated for the Southeast, and they are the most complete and cost-effective seed mixes available. BuckbusterSeedCompany.com. Hunters, your food plots will be frequent stops for deer when you plant Buckbuster seed mixes. And the young deer will grow to be trophy bucks with proper nutrition from Buckbuster seeds. Find out what's in it and where you can get it at BuckbusterSeedCompany.com.
There's nothing like grilling a fresh cut of meat, especially when it comes from Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing on Highway 84 East. You get the choicest cuts of meats, a full selection of produce, casseroles, even desserts. Diamond J does complete deer processing too. When it's time for a cookout or you're planning that special meal, one stop takes care of all your needs. Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing, Highway 84 East Brookhaven. Call Will and Debbie Jordan at 833-8007.
Hello, this is Lavelle Sullivan with Quick Lane Tire and Auto. It's back to school time, and that means getting your vehicle ready to travel for football. Right now, you can get up to $160 mail-in rebate and 90 days same as cash on new tires. These are never-seen-before savings, and there's never been a better time to buy, and we will meet or beat any competitor's advertised price on any of the 13 brands we're the authorized dealer for. Quick Lane Tire and Auto, next door to Sullivan Ford Lincoln, exit 40, Brookhaven.
There is no better place to get all your local and complete pharmacy needs than at Clint's Pharmacy in Brookhaven. Clint's is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 12. Come inside and visit the best greeting card selection in town, with all cards just 99 cents. But those days you are in a hurry, you can use Clint's convenient and fast drive-thru line. Now inside Clint's Pharmacy is Complete Family Medical, a clinic that takes walk-ins to get you in and out. Clint's Pharmacy, 201 Highway 51 North, Brookhaven.
All right, welcome back to Sports Buzz. And before we break out of the college discussion, I came across this great article on a website called Red Cup Rebellion. And last week I just felt
wonder what that could be about.
Yeah. So I felt like we didn't get to really dive in or talk about the Rebels too much last week because y'all were having so much fun making fun of the Shark and that was sort
Arkansas
of
beating them this year.
So let me just quickly give us a quick rundown. Again, I'm going to give credit to Red Cup Rebellion for this, but I really thought this summarized kind of what the Rebels offense is looking for this year. Number one, there's 5 key ingredients that they're saying that the Rebels need to make sure to have a potent offense. One, to be a quarterback that threatens the run. All right, and
they have that, right?
They have that. That's right. So, hotty toddy.
Right there.
And so, with Jordan Tamu, it does present that, right? So, this is interesting, this little stat I pulled for you, Doc. So, last year, with 2 less games than Shea Patterson played for the Rebels last year, Jordan had 181 more yards. Okay, Shea's kind of known as a scrambler. While we're mentioning Shea, he was named the starting quarterback for Michigan today.
So you're saying Michigan should have taken Tamu instead of Shea, is that right?
No, I'm glad they took it. And we were like Jordan. Number 2 for the Rebels, so besides having a threat as a quarterback, they need optionality, all right? Optionality. And really, that is how Longo ball is played. It's designed to punish a defense for the choices that it makes. And so optionality puts the defense, they find the vulnerable spot. So you see that kind of switching around a lot with the Rebels, at least a lot of calls from scrimmage, a lot of run pass option plays. They definitely do that. And so they have a lot of options. Simplicity, right? So on the edge of the optionality, you've got the simplicity of only having, I think it's been said the Rebels offense only has 11 plays. But really what that does is you have 11 plays with 100 scenarios or hundreds of scenarios. And so that simplicity really helps. And then space, all right? This is what I think is these last 2 are the key ingredients. So space with A.J. Brown, D.K. Metcalf, DeMarcus Lodge, the nasty wideout bunch. They create space, obviously. But what a successful offense is more correlated with taking defenders out of the equation rather than adding blockers. And these receivers do that. Even if they're not getting the ball, they're affecting the play, right? And so because of the depth that we have, or the Rebels have at receiver, they create that space.
Right, yeah.
And then pace, which I think is going to be a little bit new for the Rebels this year, is JUCO transfer Scotty Phillips is going to be running behind an O-line returning 4 or 5 starters. Okay, and so a balanced, explosive offense possesses the quarterback run threat, optionality, simplicity, space, and pace should give the Rebels a lot of opportunities this season to stay in games.
Yeah. I think the thing about having a few plays with a lot of different looks is kind of interesting. I like watching the New Orleans Saints, and I think they do that well because their plays aren't really that complex, but they're just run from so many different looks. You'll have 2 people split out, 3 people split out, and I think it can be really confusing for a defense to line up against that, especially if you have a lot of different personnel that you're using.
Well, I think you're going to see this in college football. We've gotten, and even on, we've talked about even some of these local high school programs. I mean, we've gotten so complex where, you've got so many plays, you've got so many different looks, you've got so many different things that a lot of times, these players, they have the fast twitch brain and they've got to make a lot of decisions, but a lot of times we need to just boil it down to a fundamental few things. Yeah. Find the open guy.
Yeah.
Find the open guy and throw him the ball.
Yeah.
I've always been a fan of the space technique and the widest receivers that you can ever do. Like, for instance, I got to talk about it while we're still in college, is that, the Razorbacks coined, so I got to talk about it. I mean, I know we're here in Mississippi, but I got to talk about the Razorbacks. They coined the wild hog play, which is just a single quarterback, and they go three left and two right, or vice versa, where they're taking 5 defenders out of the scenario when you do that. Yep. And it worked until they kind of started having to change coaches every year. But I love the wide range of formations that you use for passing games, because every coach, or at least I think so, and I think every coach would agree that a good passing game is how you win football games easily. I mean, like, you can't run the ball every time. You have to be willing to go to the air with it, and that spacing thing that you said Ole Miss is going to be leaning on, I think, is good for them up front. So, yeah.
Back to the Rebels. I mean, the stuff I read did say that their offense should be pretty well. Are you coming across things that say their defense is going to be kind of the Achilles heel for them? The games will be kind of shootouts.
I appreciate the question, Doc, and I will get back to you on that. I was going to talk about the Rebel defense next week.
Right.
And so
more reason to come back.
That's right. And so if you're with Red Cup Rebellion and you're out there listening, go ahead and write me a good article for next week on the Rebels defense.
And while we're talking about websites, we ought to mention this while we're here, is that if you want to follow us on Twitter, we actually have our Twitter handle. If you want to do, you can follow us on Twitter at SportsBuzzMS. That's we'll be tweeting out schedules for SEC games. We'll be tweeting out schedules for high school and everything like that. I just want to do that quick plug while you're plugging Red Cup Rebellion. Just our Twitter feed out there for sure.
I'm glad you did that.
You can follow on social media, but let's get into pro.
All right. So look, all right. Here's some interesting things. First of all, I want to say last week, guys, when we were talking, we mentioned Chad Kelly. All right, that he was kind of on the rise in the Mile High Stadium, and I'll be lo and behold, if we didn't wake up the next day and find out that he was the second string quarterback.
There you go.
And yeah, there you go. And so, and he continued to perform. And the question now is starting to be floated around in Denver: is he a viable starting quarterback for the Broncos? And he very well may be. He threw another great touchdown over the middle this past weekend, and so I think Paxton Lynch's days in Denver are done. Really? So interesting. I thought I wanted to bring that up, but then all right. So interesting today, Adrian Peterson, who's kind of become a journeyman, is signed with the Redskins this afternoon. Josh Gordon. Y'all know who I'm talking about, Josh Gordon, the Cleveland Brown wide receiver who's troubled but extremely talented.
Hasn't played many games, but
is back. So he's back in camp. All signs are pointing towards him being ready to play week 1. And I know Cleveland fans definitely want that.
Yeah, right.
And then Josh Allen is working with the Ones in Buffalo. This is kind of a new development today. And so, look for Josh Allen possibly to take over that starting job there in Buffalo. All right, here's a couple names to keep on your radar after the second preseason game to be some deep picks for your fantasy picks. All right, number 1, Josh Rosen. He went 10 for 16 with 107 yards and a score against the Saints. If you were watching the Saints game, you got to see Josh Rosen, and we got to do that. Even if you're playing these fantasy leagues, when you're watching your team play, you got to notice the other players.
Oh yeah.
So Josh Rosen is one to keep an eye on. The Falcons. Calvin Ridley, he had 3 catches for 49 yards and a touchdown. Panthers, Curtis Samuel had 2 catches, 65 yards, including a 39-yard bomb that he caught on the dime. It was just beautiful. And then this one's not as much a great fantasy pick, but Jimmy Garoppolo's 10 for 12 for 136 yards and 1 touch, 1 pick for the Niners. I think he's definitely going to stabilize that Niners offense. And so I look for him to do good. Yeah. I don't know about his dating habits or anything, but I do think his quarterback play.
I love NFL football, but I just have trouble getting through a preseason game. It's sort of like watching a practice, and I think, it's more about the coaches seeing individual players.
I've got a remedy for you. You need to watch Hard Knocks on HBO. It's on Tuesday nights, And that opens up the same way that Last Chance U opens up sort of the JUCO football program. Hard Knocks opens up the preseason, and it creates all these stories. I mean, these guys, their entire careers are on the line. And so what's interesting is you see some really good football, even deep into the game, because these guys are fighting for their job.
Yeah.
And so it makes it interesting. So check out
put
Hard
a personal
Knocks.
touch on it. Yeah.
Put a little personal touch on it.
Yeah, there is a connection here with the Browns. Jeremy Falk is who trained at KDMC with Mark there. Is I think he's got a pretty good chance at being one of their starting defensive ends. Real nice guy. He's not the biggest guy, but he is extremely fast and quick. So he's one of those guys that, and I say he's not the biggest, meaning he's only 6'3", 280. He's still a big guy, but he is fast. And so
when you mentioned the Browns, I mean, that is the Hard Knocks team this year, and I'm telling you, that entire coaching staff, that's a very talented coaching staff. The whole thing's on the line. Mm-hmm. I mean, they even did, I don't know if you saw this, but they're putting these beer coolers all throughout Cleveland, the town of Cleveland. They have these locks on them, and when the Browns win, they automatically unlock.
It's magic coolers.
Yeah, it's a magic unlocking coolers with the win. Everybody's just like, when are the Browns going to win? And I'm telling you, I think they're going to. I sort of gush and fall for the Hard Knocks teams, like it was the Rams last year.
Yeah, underdogs.
I think the Browns are good. They're going to win some games. Yeah. They got some talent. They're going to win some games. Another one we need to mention, I guess, before we take a break is Traquan Smith for the Saints is showing out. I don't know if you all have been watching the but he has 7 catches for 108 yards in the preseason games. And then the way that Coach Sean Payton has sort of started calling out Ted Ginn Jr. on slacking on his route running. I mean, Traquan Smith might be right there to take that slot.
Yeah. It's amazing to me the talent that they are able to get there in New Orleans year after year, and it's almost like they can see the stuff that other people can't. Like they'll get somebody like Brandon Cooks, kind of pull them out of obscurity, and then everybody sees them, and they kind of move off to another NFL team. So I think Sean Payton's made a pretty good living about seeing something in folks that not everybody else does.
He finds the gems.
Yeah.
He finds the gems. Well, look, we've got some more professional sports to talk about, and we'll do that when we come back. Let's take a 2-minute break, and we'll be right back here on The Boss, 92.1 Sports Buzz.
There is no better place to get all your local and complete pharmacy needs than at Clint's Pharmacy in Brookhaven. Clint's is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, and Saturday, 9 to 12. Come inside and visit the best greeting card selection in town, with all cards just 99 cents. But those days you are in a hurry, you can use Clint's convenient and fast drive-thru line. Now inside Clint's Pharmacy is Complete Family Medical, a clinic that takes walk-ins to get you in and out. Clint's Pharmacy, 201 Highway 51 North, Brookhaven.
Deer hunters, looking for the best fall seed mix on the market? Buckbusters has 36% protein, contains 8 varieties of winter forage in the basic mix, and 11 varieties in the premium mix. One bag does 1 acre. It's specifically formulated for the Southeast. Contact your local seed dealer or Buckbusters at buckbusterseedcompany.com or call toll-free 1-800-562-4570. Buckbusters, the most complete and cost-effective seed mixes available.
There's nothing like grilling a fresh cut of meat, especially when it comes from Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing on Highway 84 East. You get the choicest cuts of meats, a full selection of produce, casseroles, even desserts. Diamond J does complete deer processing too. When it's time for a cookout or you're planning that special meal, one stop takes care of all your needs. Diamond J Meat Market and Deer Processing, Highway 84 East Brookhaven. Call Will and Debbie Jordan at 833-8007.
Hello, this is Lavelle Sullivan with Sullivan Ford Lincoln. August is here, and that brings back-to-school, football season, and Ford summer sales event. With 0% for 72 months, plus cash back and no payment for 90 days, there's never been a better time to buy. Bring your trade and trade up to a new Ford while the selection's best. These deals won't last long. Don't miss out. Come see us today or visit online at SullivanFordLincoln.com. Sullivan Ford Lincoln, we're better, we're proving it, and we want you to be the judge. Exit 40, Brookhaven.
We want to welcome you back to Sports Buzz on B92.1 The Boss. We're here at Magnolia Blues Live. We are really having a great discussion tonight about local sports, college sports, and professional sports. We were talking about football, and we kind of ended and went on the break talking about the Saints, but is there anything else about the Saints, Doc?
Yeah, I mean, one of the big storylines is, Mark Ingram being suspended for 4 games for performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know.
Pro football player on performance-enhancing drugs.
Big surprise.
Yeah, go figure that. But so he's out for 4 games. So the Saints are kind of in that position where they don't want to have to lean on Alvin Kamara too much, because he's a fast guy, strong guy, but he's on the smaller side. So you don't want
need
him,
that balance.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want him carrying the ball 30 times every game. So
I didn't see, but are they going to sign anybody? Or
they've got a few people that have kind of are making a name for themselves as far as trying to get that job anyway. It looks like Jonathan Williams, who's played some for the Cincinnati Bengals in the past, kind of looks like he's the most likely person to fill that position temporarily anyway. But Mark Ingram has it's kind of odd to me that I guess maybe not, but he's been playing some preseason games. I guess that doesn't count. You can get out there and the touches he's had, he's looked pretty good.
Well,
so
he's probably running with a passion,
or maybe some of them drugs are still in the system.
Maybe. just maybe.
Bada boom. All right, let's move on to the PGA.
PGA, what's going on?
All right, so the FedEx playoffs kick off this week with the Northern Trust in Paramus, New Jersey. Of course, Tiger enters the playoffs at 20th position. Tee times will be posted on Wednesday. Interestingly, this weekend, Brant Snedeker won this weekend, posting just the 10th sub-60 score in PGA Tour history. So he shot a 59, a sublime 59 opening round, which is just absolutely incredible. And then he I think he shot like a 65, 66 the last few rounds, but he ended up winning. It was his 9th win overall. So good for Brant. He's recovering from some injuries, so it's good to see him back out there. Of course, we'll see what happens with the Ryder Cup as the captain selections are made. We'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. But opening the playoffs this weekend will be good to see. Interesting to see what Tiger does if he comes back with some of the same vigor that he had at the end of the PGA Championship and maybe get that first win of the year.
Moving on, put you on the spot. Okay. Who's his biggest competition? That who's like chasing his heels, or is he chasing anyone's heels?
Who?
Tiger. I mean, you said we've talked about him last week, and like who's he got that's like his biggest competition?
Well, I mean, where we stand today, that's kind of an interesting question from the standpoint of, he was 1100th in the world when the season started. So, he's climbing back up the ranks. So he's in the top 20. All right. So he's 20th. Okay. So that's pretty amazing. But it's
1100th to come back.
Yeah. But I mean, the top players, you got Justin Thomas, Dustin Johnson, Jason Day, Jordan Spieth, these guys that, we talked about last week that are, they can just bang the ball an absolute mile with the driver, and so that his competition is really playing within himself and playing as the 42-year-old Tiger. He's not the kid
the young buck
anymore, right? And he's got the feuds back and all that. If Tiger can keep it in the fairway, though, what he does with his wedges and his irons is pretty remarkable.
Shorter game, not his
short game. Yeah, his iron play is pretty awesome. So let's move on to the major leagues. I'm just going to give you a quick rundown. The power rankings change every week, and those of you who are following sort of the MLB and the playoffs will have sort of the deeper stories on this. But number 1 overall in the power rankings, you got the Boston Red Sox, followed by the Yankees, and then the Oakland A's moved up a bunch of spots this week. Had a great week. They're number 3. There's a lot of stories right now. If you ever watched that movie, I can't remember the exact name of it, where they had the computer calculations for how they did Moneyball.
Heck yeah.
Yeah, so the Moneyball, there's a lot of stories right now. They've basically rebuilt the Oakland A's again on the cheap, and so there's a lot of conjecture about have they done Moneyball too?
Right. Yeah.
But the Astros are coming in, the returning champions coming in on 4th in the power ranking. 5 are the Chicago Cubs, 6 Cleveland Indians, 7 Arizona Diamondbacks, 8 Colorado Rockies, 9 St. Louis Cardinals, and 10. Believe it or not, the Atlanta Braves. So
they haven't made any noise in a while. Long time. I'm a huge fan of the St. Louis Cardinals. That's the closest team. Again, I grew up in Arkansas. If y'all haven't know that
St. Louis.
That's the closest team that I got to watch as Major League. So I've always been a big fan of St. Louis. So I'm really hoping that if 9th is where they're picked right now, because I know October is a big month for Major League Baseball, so I'm hoping that we see some sort of jump up in it. But what I love about baseball is that you can be picked to do anything, but baseball is so random. I mean, like, you can have a good inning where you score 4 runs out of nowhere and you're right back into the game. So I'm hoping that kind of goes with the Cardinals, because I'm just a big fan of St. Louis.
Yeah, I think the tough part for me for baseball, but as far as interest goes, just how many games they play. And I know that when I'm sitting there watching a game, that particular game has such little on the line.
Yeah.
But that when the playoffs and stuff start kicking in, that, when the games really feel to have more meaning to me, I like to watch them, but it's kind of,
and the stories become clear, like what are going to be the dramatic stories that are happening this year, and we're getting close to that. So as we move through the sports buzz season, obviously we'll get into the pennant race and all that. It'll be a lot more fun, but that's your top 10 for this week. Let's move into NASCAR, the update on the NASCAR. So Kurt Busch got his first win of the year. It was a great race under the lights at Bristol. And here, let me just give you an update, because we have 2 more races before the playoffs start, before the season finale, which is going to be at the Brickyard. And for those of you that don't know, the Brickyard is Indianapolis, so it's the Indianapolis race for NASCAR.
So what if one wanted to go to a professional NASCAR race? Is Talladega? Is that the closest?
Yeah, Talladega would absolutely be the closest. And if you've never been to a NASCAR race, I highly suggest going to Talladega.
You try to go to those as often as you can?
I have not been to Talladega for the last couple of years, but I mean, I am fully game if y'all want to load up and go this year. We could do a little sports buzz from the track.
Paid, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, all expense paid by B92 and our sponsors.
Can we work on that?
We need to talk to our sponsors. Yeah. But yeah, okay.
Go on,
but Talladega, to answer your question. But let's look at so number 16th, and the 16th spot, just barely edging in right now, is Alex Bowman. And for those of you who are Dale Earnhardt Jr. fans, that is who took over the Dale Earnhardt Jr. ride. Okay, and Alex Bowman, and he is getting in on points. Interestingly enough, his teammate Jimmy Johnson, 7-time champion in 15th place, only getting in on points. Longest dry spell of his career as far as wins go. They just have not been able to put it together. Number 14, Eric Almirola. He's in a new ride this year with Stewart Haas Racing. Number 13, Kyle Larson. That's Ganassi Racing. Number 12, Denny Hamlin, one of the Joe Gibbs drivers, who's the only one who doesn't have a win. Number 11 is Austin Dillon. He's got 1 win. He won the Daytona 500. Eric Jones has got a win. Can't remember which one, but he does. Brad Keselowski's former champion, who's getting in on points right now. Chase Elliott, who got his first win, who's Bill Elliott's son, got his first win a couple weeks ago. It's pretty awesome. Ryan Blaney's having a great year. He's in 7th place in points. Hasn't won a race, but he's obviously doing great with those points. Number 6 is Joey Logano, who's got 1 win. 5th was Kurt Busch. Mentioned him. He got his first win just the other night. Clint Boyer's in 4th with 2 wins. Martin Truex, we're going to get into the big 3 now. Okay. Martin Truex has got 4 wins. Kyle Busch in 2nd place. That's a
name I recognize right there.
That's right.
Busch.
That's right. Kyle Busch has got 6 wins. And then Kevin Harvick is in 1st place with 7 wins. But let me mention this. One of Kevin's wins won't be counted towards the point total. He had a little hiccup there in that post-race inspection.
Okay.
So tied there with that. So that's your NASCAR. NASCAR will be off this week and be back the following week.
I think that's all we got for Pro then, to wrap up with that, wouldn't you say?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. So before we close out our show, we do want to again thank all of our sponsors: Clint's Pharmacy, Buckbuster Seed Company, Sullivan Ford Lincoln, and Magnolia Blues. And again, also thanking Magnolia Blues for hosting us here here at their restaurant. For feeding us and to be very, very generous for that. We still full from that cheeseburger. It was delicious.
And then whether you know it or not, it's Sullivan Ford and Lincoln. Not only can you buy cars and vehicles there, they got a great selection of used cars and as well as new cars, but you can also have your tires changed and you can get an oil change. At the Quick Lane, best oil change in town. And, Lavelle Sullivan's just a great guy. The things that he does for the school where we have that drive-a-thon, for Brookhaven Academy is just a huge
I think
impact.
they do that for all the schools.
Yeah, they think they do it for BHS too. I mean, what a great steward of not only Brookhaven, but just in general.
Yeah,
so if you were in the area, you need a vehicle, whether it's for your teenager or for yourself, check out what they've got out there at Lincoln Ford Sullivan. And if you need an oil change, tires, go out there to that quick lane.
Absolutely. And we do, again, extend another great thanks to all of our sponsors here, because we literally couldn't do the show if it wasn't for them. Before we go, let's do a quick recap of what is...
Did you mention Buckbuster Seed Company?
Buckbuster Seed Company. Yeah, we mentioned them. Yeah, they were again, great sponsors.
Well, I've talked to some of my hunter friends who swear by Buckbusters, so...
There you go. I mean, again, across the board, great people to be involved with and help us put them on. So what we've got coming up this week as far as local goes, we are slowly creeping into the beginning of the football season. As far across the board, college comes up, in 2 weeks? I think the first game's
September 1st.
September 1st and August 30th. They released that weekend. So haven't gotten to the official first game of college yet, but we do have local sports coming at you this week. For high school football, you got Bogachetta at Faith Academy. Brookhaven High will be hosting Lawrence County here. Brookhaven Academy goes to North Delta. Enterprise will be at Puckett. Lloyd Star is at home versus McLaurin. Wesson, I'll be at that game covering that one versus Summerall here at Wesson. West Lincoln versus Salem. Also got some soccer. August 21st at 4. Brookhaven Academy is playing Discovery Christian at Discovery Christian. And also...
Discovery Christian? I've not heard of them.
Yeah, and times for those for high school softball this week as well. August 21st at 5 and 6:15 is Brookhaven High versus Lawrence County. August 21st at 4:30 is Wesson at Hazelhurst. I'll be at that game. August 23rd, Brookhaven High at Wingfield. I'll also be at that game. And August 23rd, 5 p.m. at 6 p.m. and 6 p.m. Wesson versus Bogachetta. That is your lowdown of the local sports this week. I think we timed that pretty perfect.
They're playing the exit music.
They're playing us out. Are they rolling us out? I think we are. So thank you again so much for joining us here at Magnolia Blues.
See y'all next week.
Yes, see y'all next week. I'm Paden Phillips.
Ryan Case.
Trey Waterloo.
Thanks so much for joining us. You've been listening to Sports Buzz right here on The Boss, B92.1. Thanks for joining us.
Serving Brookhaven, Lincoln County, and all of Homeseekers Paradise for over 40 years. WBKN Brookhaven, B92.